I'm going to take a look at some of the homework problems for inverse trig derivatives, and the biggest problem, or not problem, but the biggest issue that occurs with the inverse trig derivatives pretty much is cleaning up the inverse trig derivatives. So I'm not going to do all of these. I'm going to work some of them for you. In fact, we did some of them in class. In fact, I think we did about like 19 through 33 in class. So, or at least through 31. Maybe I'll pick up 33 and just work some in that section right there because those are the ones that seem to be a bit more messy. So let me start with problem 33. All right, in problem number 33, which is right here, you can see that in the first term, we're going to need the product rule, and in the second term, we're going to need the chain rule. So in number 33, applying the product rule, I'll have the first function, which is x, times the derivative of the second. The derivative of arc cosine is negative u prime, so that would be 1 in this case, over the square root of 1 minus x squared. And that's the first times the derivative of the second, plus the second, which is arc cosine, times the derivative of the first, which is just 1. And then we're going to have the chain rule for the second term. So I'll have 1/2 of the quantity 1 minus x squared to the negative 1/2 multiplied by the derivative of the inside, which is negative 2x. So in cleaning that one up, I would have negative x over square root of 1 minus x squared. And in the second term, this 2 divides out with this 2. I can move the square root down to the denominator, so I would have, there's a negative back here, don't forget about that, and let's see, arc cosine, yeah, there's a negative times a negative, which is a positive, so that's going to be plus x arc cosine over the square root of 1 minus x squared, and because these have a common denominator, I can make that negative x plus x arc cosine of x over the square root of 1 minus x squared. So that's number 33. That one's really not too bad to clean up. All right, so that's number 33. Now, hopefully you can see that number 39 is pretty much the same problem as number 33, except for it's arc sine instead of arc cosine, so I'm not going to do that one. I think the next one that I'll do is number, let's do number 41. All right, I'm going to copy the problem over here, and then I'm going to slide some of that work out of my way. So y equal to 8 arc sine of x over 4 minus x times the square root of 16 minus x squared over 2. And let me move this out of my way so I have a little bit more space here to work. All right, so in number 41, the things that I see are, in the first term, I have an inverse trig. So there's an inverse trig in the first term, and in the second term, I'm noticing a product rule. So when I find the derivative, y prime is equal to, 8's simply a coefficient. Derivative of arc sine is u prime. This is the u for that particular term. Remember, x over 4 is the same thing as 1/4 x, and the derivative of 1/4 x is 1/4. So I'll have 8. I'll just leave that out front for right now. 8 times 1/4, that's my derivative, over the square root of 1 minus u squared would be x squared over 16. So inside of the parentheses is the derivative of the arc sine term. And then I'll clean that up in just a second. In the second term, I have minus, and I see the product rule. I'm going to take the 1/2 and I'm going to pull it out front. And again, I'm going to put a parenthesis. So I'll have the first term, which is x, times the derivative of the second, which is 1/2 16 minus x squared to the negative 1/2 times the derivative of the inside, negative 2x, plus the second, which is the square root of 16 minus x squared, times the derivative of the first, which is 1. All right, now here's where the fun begins in cleaning up. In the first term, I can see that 1/4 of 8 is 2, so I have 2 in the numerator. In the denominator, I'm going to kind of show you lots of things that they're going to do in the book when you're trying to check your answers and why your answer doesn't look like their answer. In the denominator, under the radical, they're going to get a common denominator. So since this is 1, to make a common denominator of 16, I would need 16 over 16, so I get 16 minus x squared over 16. I'm not done with that, but that's just a first step. Just get a one fraction under the radical. In the second term, I'm going to have minus. Let's see what I want to do in here. First of all, I notice that this 2 will divide out with this 2 on the inside. And then I have a negative x. So let's see, I'm going to move that to the denominator. Here's my 1/2. And I have negative x in the numerator. And then I have the square root of 16 minus x squared. And the way that I got that, if you're wondering, is I took this expression, which has a negative power, I moved it to the denominator. I kept my negative, multiplied it by my x, and that's how I got my numerator. And the 1/2 is still out front. And then I still have plus the square root of 16 minus x squared. Okay, further in cleaning, and this is really the big deal, it's just lots and lots and lots of algebra. In the first term, notice that I have a 16 in the denominator, so think of that as 1/16. I can take the square root of that, and I would have 2 over the square root of 1/16 is 1/4 times the square root of 16 minus x squared. Now make sure that you do not think that you can take the square root of 16 minus x squared. That is never, ever, ever equal to 4 minus x. Okay, so make sure that you don't try to simplify that expression or take, because they're both perfect squares, you think you can take them out of the radical. All right, I'll deal with the 1/4 in just a minute. Now let's go back to the other term. In the other term, I'm going to keep the 1/2 out front for just a second. Inside of the parentheses, I'm going to get a common denominator, which means I'm going to multiply the second term. This is over 1. So I'm going to multiply the numerator and denominator by square root of 16 minus x squared, so I have a common denominator. Now when I multiply the numerator by the square root of 16 minus x squared, it takes a radical off, so I get plus 16 minus x squared outside the radical. In the first term, where I have 2 divided by 1/4, that's 2 divided by 1/4, which is 2 times 4. Remember, when you divide fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal, so I have 8 in the numerator over square root of 16 minus x squared minus, I'm going to go ahead and distribute my negative, I think, so I'm going to distribute the negative here, here, and here. So that'll give me, if I put those in descending order, that'll give me plus x squared plus x minus 16 over the square root of 16 minus x squared, and then the 2 is still in the denominator. I mean, I can keep going. I don't know if it's going to clean a whole lot more. I can multiply. I can get 1 grand common denominator. If I multiply the numerator and denominator here by 2, I will get out of space here. Let's move this over. I will get 16 over 2 square root of 16 minus x squared plus x squared plus x minus 16. I hope I didn't make a careless mistake somewhere. I'm going to go back and look at my work. The 16s subtract out, and so I can get x squared plus x over 2 times the square root of 16 minus x squared. Now I'm going to go back and check that in just a second, but I know that your question is probably, where can I leave this? How clean do I need to make this problem? Well, my answer to that is it depends on what we have to do with it. Where would I... The first thing I'd be looking for is, do you simply recognize all of the derivative rules? Did you recognize arcsine? Did you recognize the product rule? After that, I would probably say, at least to this point, I'd prefer you to be able to go further than that. But I'm going to take a second and check my work to make sure that I didn't make a careless mistake. And I did catch a mistake. I'm going to go back and fix that for you. Right here, my x. So the two blue x's, x times x makes x squared. So this should be x squared. 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 And then my 16s that I subtracted out, they will not subtract out. So I would get 2x squared. They still subtract out. So I get 2x squared. Alright? So you got to be careful. There's lots of places to make mistakes. So always go back and check your work. You're going to notice that these two 2's will divide out. So it simplifies to be x squared over the square root of 16 minus x squared. So I hope that's helpful to you. I know it's a little frustrating dealing with all of the algebra, but it's good. You got to be careful. You got to look for careless mistakes. Let's set up another one here. Let me reset the page. And let's maybe do, let's see, I did 41. 42 is very similar to 41. Let's jump to 43. I know I did 58 in class. So let's take a look at number 43. Let me copy it up here, and again, then I'll move all of the other stuff out of my way. So 43 is y equal to arc tangent of x plus x over 1 plus x squared. Alright, so I'm going to move this stuff out of my way eventually. There. Alright. So when I find the derivative here, the derivative of arctan is u prime, so 1 over 1 plus x squared. The derivative of the second term is going to require the quotient rule unless you turn it into the chain or product chain. So I'll have down d up minus up d down over down down. And so cleaning that up a little bit, I have 1 over 1 plus x squared. In the numerator, when I clean up, the denominator is to have 1 plus x squared squared. I have 1 plus x squared minus 2x squared. All right, to get a common denominator, I'm going to multiply the denominator and the numerator by 1 plus x squared. So that would give me 1 plus x squared plus 1 plus x squared minus 2x squared over 1 plus x squared squared. Again, all I did there was to get a common denominator. I multiplied the numerator by 1 plus x squared and the denominator by 1 plus x squared. And that's what gave me 1 plus x squared squared, so they have the same denominator. Cleaning that up, I have x squared plus x squared is 2x squared minus 2x squared. That subtracts out. And then I have 1 plus 1 is 2. So 2 over 1 plus x squared quantity squared. All right, I'm going to go back and check my work on that one. All right, so hopefully that gives you some help with looking at some of the cleanup. I know it's just a few problems that were done. Let me look and see if there are any more that I would want to do. 44 is pretty similar to number 43, and I think we were looking at the odd problems anyway. If you have other questions, feel free to come and see me. I'll be glad to help you out. I'm just looking through the rest of them to see if there's anything. I did 33. Um, yeah, I think that's good. If you like I said, if you have any more questions, come and see me.